haven't got much time.
Scurvy, tuberculosis and scarlet fever may conjure up images of a Charles Dickens tale, but diseases of the Victorian era are re-emerging in modern-day Britain.
It was, a complete shock.
24-year-old Josie Garrett is nearing the end of intensive treatment for TB. She's studying for a master's degree, but a year ago was isolated in hospital.
I contracted tuberculosis from my boyfriend. He caught TB from his friend. His friend contracted tuberculosis from his dad, and his dad first was diagnosed with TB in the 90s after travelling to India, and then it basically re-emerged again as a drug-resistant form of the disease. Up until this point, I wasn't able to work, I wasn't able to kind of socialise, I wasn't able to kind of live a normal life.
TB is one disease often synonymous with poverty, affecting the most vulnerable. But health officials warn that strains of the disease lie undetected in all parts of modern society and could break out in the future.
The bacterial tuberculosis can infect you and stay in your body latent for a long time. And it becomes reawakened again and manifests itself as a disease when something happens to your immune level.
Tuberculosis was one of the deadliest diseases in the Victorian era, killing 1 in 4 people at one point, and thousands of victims are buried here at this cemetery. Of course, the situation isn't as bad today, but there are parts of London where TB rates are higher than they are in Rwanda or Iraq. And a recent study by Britain's National Health Service found that other diseases common in the 19th century are making a comeback.
Notably, there's been a huge rise in scarlet fever, 14,000 cases in the last year, the highest since the 1960s. We have seen a rise in the cases of tuberculosis. We've seen a rise in the cases of whooping cough. We have seen more measles in the last 10 years than we'd seen in the 10 years before that.
In fact, over the last 5 years in England, cases of scarlet fever have risen by 136%, scurvy by 38% and cholera by 300%, though for scurvy and cholera the numbers are very small. So why the resurgence?
Reduced vaccine uptake, for example, with measles, reduced population immunity, for example, with whooping cough, increased poverty, as well as an influx in migration and malnutrition.
200 years later, and age-old afflictions, poverty, malnutrition, lack of healthcare, contributing to the rise of Victorian-era diseases today. Max Foster, CNN London.